Hello and welcome to Life Edit and Design. I'm Julianne, and today I wanted to shoot just a short video on using the finance planner inside Notion. I think this is one of the best applications for Notion, and I don't know if everybody fully understands and fully uses it to their advantage, especially now when you're getting into a lot of hard times with finances, with inflation, and you just really want to see where's your money going and how do you want to tweak your budget. Because at the end of the day, you only have so much money in that take home pay, right? So, how are you going to spend it wisely and still feel like you're living? So, I'll just make myself a little bit smaller here. Let's dive into, I've got some fictional data here, and I just wanted to show you kind of how I use Notion, and hopefully that will inspire you to come up with a way to create your own financial planner that really keeps track of where you're spending money. So the first thing you'd want to create is just a couple of views. So these are fictitious, and I first created this back in the spring. So April and March are the months, but obviously you're going to want to put the months that you're currently in as some views. So first we've got a view for everything, and then a view for the months that you're going to be working on, the current month and maybe the past month. So fields. Obviously, a field to record what the transaction is, a field to record the amount, and then this category field, which is the most important part of this whole database, which is kind of how do you want to budget your money. And if you look, these are the categories that I have. And what I did was I created, let me show you the whole list. I created a budget for each one. So knowing that we're going to start with this fictional amount of $5,000. So this is going to be whatever your take home pay is for the month. That is your fictional starting point. And then you're going to have categories, and whichever, don't go crazy. Don't make too many categories. Like one is just your fixed expenses or your essentials. That is going to be, the one that really you have no control over, right? That's your mortgage or your rent, your utilities, your car payment, insurance, things like that. These things happen every month, whether you like it or not. You might be able to shop for better deals, but the idea is that these are recurring payments. And they may be fixed, they may not be, like your utilities do fluctuate. So that is kind of your essentials or your fixed expenses, whatever you want to call it. That one really you don't have the control over, right? So that's going to be the majority of your budget. So what I did here is I put the amount I had. So I put this one first. So let's just drag this up. So this is the first one I started with, and I said, okay, if there's $1,000 left, how would I spend the remaining $1,000? And so, right. So when I look at this, it doesn't actually add up. So I should change it up a little bit. But again, this is just fictional. So if we were going to do this the correct way, I would only have, what, $100 left here? Something like that. So put that in your budget. So if we're looking at it, you're looking at your $5,000 and then what you have left. And so we're actually $75 over budget. So let's reduce this one to, rename it to, we have what, 325 here. Oops, 25. Okay, so those are your budgets. So now if we look at this table, so you had $4,000 plus the remaining stuff here, makes your budget of $5,000. So that is what you have to spend every month, and this is how it's allocated. So obviously you're going to change these numbers to whatever makes sense for you, and you're going to change the categories to whatever makes sense for you. You may have a lot of childcare costs. You may have some other things that are not fixed, but things that you have the ability to change. Maybe there's a lot of dues that you pay for sporting events. Maybe you have an entertainment budget instead of an eating out budget. Obviously these are just to get you started. So you want to create a budget for each amount or for each category. So create your categories and then create your amount. What can you spend in that category? And by putting that title right in the name, it helps when you start to use these views. So these are all different views I've created. So in the month of April, I have my running expenses. I use my category. I've created this select field that has all the months of the year in it. You're going to want to create that. And then I put the actual date. I find that this is helpful because a lot of times, like especially when I do something like Amazon, I see the charge and I'm like, oh, what was that for? So the date helps me nail down when did I spend this amount? And then I usually put in the comments like what I bought. So if it's something that's not clear, like rent is obviously clear, car insurance is obviously clear, but something maybe like where you went shopping for some extras, or Amazon could be falling into extras or could fall into groceries depending on what you use Amazon for. So it's good to have this little note section and this date section. So when I'm looking at my credit card, my bank statements, I look at the date to kind of try to figure out, oh, did I record that one? on, and then what was it for. So I find this date's very helpful for when that transaction actually occurred. The month helps me from filtering, but the date helps me for just when I'm tracking and making sure I'm getting all my transactions. The year is just a filter tool, but you're going to want to have the year, and you want to create future years. I'm recording this at the end of 22, so you're going to want to create 23. And again, it's just as easy as going and creating that, typing it in and create, and now you'll have 23 as a choice. And again, the comments is just for you. But here's how this really works. So what's so cool is I start off each month with a deposit. So let's see if I did it correctly here. So I started off with a deposit of $5,000. So that gets me to make this sum work. So as I do each entry, I do this negative symbol. So that's going to deduct from that 5,000. So I started with 5,000 positive at the beginning of the month, and then it does a running deduction each day, or I'm sorry, each entry that I put in, so I can see how much I have left in the month. So you may want to put like all your fixed expenses in right from the get-go. If you know what they are, you might want to say, okay, I'm going to put in my car insurance. I'm going to put in my car payment. I'm going to put in trash. Some of these ones that happen every month, rent. You might want to go ahead and put those all in so that you can see what you have left, or you may just want to wait till each transaction hits your bank account. That's, again, a matter of preference. That's what I love about Notion. You can do whatever works for you. So you're going to go in here and start recording your transactions, and this will keep a running tally of what is left after your starting amount. So you put that start deposit in, and this is what you have left to spend, which helps as the month goes along. You can start to see, oh, am I starting to run out of money? What do I want to do? And then these views are great, so you can start to see, okay, well, this is kind of hard to see what's going where. So if you click on this, it says, okay, for fixed expenses, I have $4,000 to spend, and here's the total. So I'm not close to 4,000. I'm only at 1,884. So that gives you an idea that you still have a lot of fixed expenses to come, but there's some wiggle room. So if you look at eating out, you're like, okay, I've spent half of my eating out budget here already. So depending on where you are in the month, you can kind of say, okay, how many days are left in the month, and I only have half my budget left. Am I doing good or not so good? Extras, I have 325. I've only spent 15. Oh, okay, so I have some room to spend some money there. Groceries, how am I doing? So again, it depends on where you are in the month to let you know what you have left to spend and if you're getting close to going over budget. And then obviously if you have more than that shows, you can just kind of keep filtering and keep using these views, which I love being able to switch. Now the magic of this view is you need to run a filter. So you're going to go over here and make sure your filter is set for whatever month you want to be studying. So if you're going to study your April expenses, you just change your filter to April, and now it's giving you what you've spent in the month of April. So you can always see, if you keep this field showing, you can always see, okay, I'm looking at April, looking at the year 2022, and I'm looking at what I've spent so far in April. So the dates will give you an idea of you've got this, how many records you've got in, how recent have you been putting them in. So I love this date field, and on mine I actually would sort. So let's add a sort by date, just so it's in date order, because again, that makes it so much easier when you're trying to figure out, did I put that charge in? And on my database, I do a weekly review. So every single week, I make sure I pull up my credit card, I pull up my bank statements, and I make sure every entry on both of those shows up here and shows up in the correct category. And when I'm out shopping and I come back, if I'm on top of things, I just take the receipt and I go right up to my computer and enter that amount right then and there, so I don't even wait for the credit card statement. But at the minimum, make sure when you're doing your weekly reviews that you're going in and you're updating your finances. So you're going to go through and you're going to put in everything that you're spending money on, and make sure you put that minus sign so it'll do the math correctly. And then you can always filter and see how you're doing, drilling down to each category. Now, that's not the rest. That's not the end of it. There's one more step that you want to do, and that's to say, are these budgets working for me? So you're going to come down here, and I've created a summary table. So you want to create a second table. And in this table, the month is just, you're just going to hand type this in. This isn't a select field. It's just a text field. So you're going to write the month, and you can write the year too if you want to do March of 22, March of 23, whatever. And then again, here's your budget. So this is how much you have to spend in each area. Again, these are a little out of date because we just changed that up top. So we changed eating out to 100. So I love being able to just go in and change. So as your budget changes, this is so easy. You don't have to go crazy and try to figure out formulas, anything like that. Just retype. Easy. And then you're going to put in what you spent. So you'll go up to this filter and say, okay, fixed expenses for the month of March. Let's see what the month of April. Let's put that in. So if we change the filter, now it's giving me all my fixed expenses. I spent $2,049. So I'd go in here and I would type $2,049. And then for April or for March, I would type in the total for there. So I'd go through each view and make sure it reflects whatever month I'm working on. And then I would go down and say, okay, it's 96.50. I'd make sure that I wrote eating out, we spent 96.50, 96.50. And then I have these, the calculate fields, I have set to average. So as the year goes along, I can see, okay, I'm getting close, but I'm not going over budget. My average is this. So you're kind of doing an eyeball thing of, okay, am I going over budget? How many times am I going over budget? What am I spending on an average in each of these categories? So you can kind of see, do I want to reset my budget? Do I keep going over budget here in eating out, but I'm not going over budget in groceries? So I'm going to take a little bit of money from here and put it over here. So make this 125 and make this 475, something like that. So you can keep adjusting, but you get to see the big picture of where your money's going. If you're consistently overspending in a category, say maybe your extras, you're just constantly going overboard, then you're like, all right, I need to kind of tighten my belt a little bit here. I need to make some changes. Maybe look at some subscriptions that are extras that I don't really need to have. Can I tailor them back? Am I spending so much on cable and TV that maybe I need to drop one of my services? Something like that. It will always give you what you've got going on here. And then the other thing that I like is, let's go back to March. So here, again, this is fictional. So we had $3,000 left over, right? So we're still in the positive. So in your balance section, what month did I say we were? Just in March. So in the balance for March, you would write 3,056.50. And then if we go up here and we do our April, again, we're just saving all kinds of money. 2374.20. So what you'll have here is I changed this one to sum. So I made these all averages, and this one I set to sum. And sum will tell me if I'm, am I overspending? Am I losing money? Is my checking account going down as a result, or is it going up? So this is your net. This is what's left after everything has been spent. For the month, this is what you have left in this number. So this could be a minus number. This could be a positive number. In this case, it's minus only because I didn't put the deposit in. So let's go put that deposit. And we started with $5,000. And we put that on April. Well, we're in the wrong month, but you get the idea. And we'll just drag it up so it shows at the top. So, whoops, where did it just go? Oh, whatever. You get the idea. So now it's in the positives. So now you can see that what you're spending, and if this number is in the negatives, then you're spending more than you're making every week, and that's not good. So you can keep your eye on this. So it's not enough just to have this table going. I really want to have this summary that shows me where is my money going. On average, what am I spending? Do I want to alter my budget because on average I'm spending more than I've budgeted? Am I constantly going over budget? Or on average, am I spending less? Because there's going to be some months where things happen, right? You go a little over budget. But what kind of the big picture you can see was, well, if I was really low on my fixed expenses and I went a little over on my groceries that month, it's okay because this number was still in the positives. So I may not want to adjust my grocery budget. That might have just been a weird thing that happened, or a holiday happened and I bought a lot of extra food. So I might not want to adjust my budget. So going over budget doesn't necessarily mean I need to change the budget. But if I consistently going over budget, and if I see my average is over budget, then I need to make some changes either to what I'm doing or take some money from a different budget and reallocate it over here. So that is how I use this dashboard, and you can create your own. Obviously, it's very, very simple. I just wanted to share some of the logic behind it, and I just find this category is really powerful, and these views. So I can just keep changing all the views to what I want to look at. How am I spending? Like if I'm about to go to the grocery store, I could click on this view and say, okay, how am I doing? Do I need to be careful when I go to the grocery store? Do I need to, or can I stock up? Like this might be a good indicator of, okay, if my budget is $500, I have a lot of room. This might be a good month for me to stock up, put some stuff away so that in a different month, when I don't have much wiggle room, I have more in my pantry, so I don't need to spend as much. So this just gives you a good idea, extras. Maybe you're going way over, just having fun over the summer, and you say, oh, I really need to tighten that up. Again, gives you that high level view. This lets you see some patterns, lets you reallocate money, just as a very cool way to use your finances, and Notion is great for this. So I hope that this was informational and it inspires you to create your own budget tracker inside Notion. And as always, you can go to the Notion shop. I have different financial trackers built into some of my databases, and I hope that I will see you somewhere along the way, either in another video or in a course or at the Etsy shop. So take care.